And at 10, the puppet, FNAF VR. I said that the puppet from FNAF VR was one of the scariest jump scares, but only because of the way the puppet walks, okay? It's honestly terrifying, at least that part. But aside from that, the actual jump scare itself isn't all that scary. The puppet just shakes his head across the screen, or I guess your eyes. The puppet is probably the least scary animatronic. It just has a couple lines down its face, okay? The scarier ones like the nightmare animatronics have some substance behind them, and that's pretty scary. The teeth are one of those things. However, the only thing scary about the puppet jump scare is the audio. The jump scare is only effective because of the audio, if it ends up being effective at all. Especially if you know it's coming, okay? Because you can like see the puppet walking down, and if you see the puppet... In a 9, Springtrap, FNAF 3. Springtrap isn't a scary character. Sure, the story behind him is scary and it's a very unsettling story, but the actual jump scare isn't much to be feared. While the rest of the jump scares from FNAF 3, particularly the Phantom animatronics, can be scary unless you know what to look for, the Springtrap animation is really just simple, and honestly, it doesn't really look like he's coming to kill you. In fact, it looks so unintimidating I saw theories going around that Springtrap was trying to help you because of how he approaches you in FNAF 3. Just does that thing, okay? Again, just the audio. He moves his head a little bit, but that's why I never put him on any of the scariest animatronics list until Amanda took over and then totally went against everything I stood for. He's not an animatronic, okay? So you're saying he was living in the wall for 30 years? I'm sorry, in a series full of dead children possessing animatronics through the use of agony and intense emotion, you think that's far-fetched? MapPad himself said the Springtrap doesn't die. The thing about this jump scare is that I'm sure will make you jump at least a little bit thanks to the sound effect, but the sound effect is the one used for every other jump scare in the game. The Phantoms and Springtrap make the same noise, which could be used as theory fodder if you're really looking for something. MapPad, I'm looking at you. But no matter what you say, I've never been scared by Springtrap, okay? The jump scare hasn't gotten me. I'm just like, oh, okay, it's Springtrap. And at 8, Foxy, FNAF 1. The Foxy jump scare from the first FNAF game may catch you off guard, but it won't really jump scare you. Similar to the Springtrap case, the animation of Foxy just popping in and waving actually sparks theories that Foxy was trying to help you, and even a couple creepypastas that use that same premise. Actually, if you didn't know, yes, there are Five Nights at Freddy's creepypastas, okay? We've made videos about them. They don't make sense, but you should go check it out. In fact, the first one made it onto r/FNAF cringe, and in fact, it's one of my prouder moments. And if you want a whole FNAF playlist, you can go check it out right in the top right corner. Top left? It depends. My right, your left. We have like nearly 80 FNAF videos, so you won't be lacking any content, that's for sure. We've legit made more FNAF videos than Game Theory, so you'll be set for FNAF for a little bit, at the very least. It's like 12 hours of FNAF content, okay, so go check it out. But as for Foxy, he's literally the least intimidating out of the original 5 animatronics. Like, even Golden Freddy is more intimidating, and he slouches more than me when I play games. Sorry, but it's true. I know all you Foxy stands are gonna come for him, but he ain't scary. Okay, Grim Foxy is scary. He isn't. And at 7, letting fate decide. FNAF 6 was supposed to be the end of the Afton story. I really hoped it would be. That's what Henry sets out to do in this game. Make sure that nobody remembered what happened there, despite the parents of the victims definitely remembering, unless he killed them too. However, this figured that the first fire didn't work, so the second one surely will. And in fact, he was so confident in this plan for whatever stupid reason that he actually let himself die in the process. Quote, leave nobody remembering what happened or whatever. But like I said, even if Henry and William and his son are dead, the parents of the victims still remember. And as we learned from Security Breach duffel bags, there are parents who remember too, despite not having kids in the past, citing the missing children from the Pizzaplex as happening again. If Henry had stuck around to see if the job was really done like around a hearthstone, maybe William wouldn't have been able to possess Vanny and then come back yet again to wreak more havoc. The Pizzaplex missing children are a direct result of Henry just straight up being a moron, and you can't tell me any different. He should have lit the place up, smashed everything that survived, and then, after he was 100% sure that Afton was dead, after the goddamn autopsy, that's when you can off yourself. And at 6, Night Terror Door, FNAF VR. The Night Terror mini-games from FNAF VR is basically the game including FNAF 4, but not making it as annoying as FNAF 4 would actually be in VR. Since you need to run across the room, and doing so wouldn't be as fast in VR as in the actual game, but the whole game revolves around one of the animatronics being one of the sides of the room, you know, because you can't like go back and forth, and you know, you get what I mean. But honestly, I've never seen a kid's room have 2 doors unless it was like a mansion or some crap. Like honestly, who would let their kid have the room with 2 doors? I don't know. I get excited when I see a bathroom with 2 doors. It's annoying, but it's cool. However, the real jump scare comes if you are on the side of the animatronic. If you're not, you can actually see them walk in through the door. The other one that you're not holding closed, that one. Well, this is pretty spooky considering how the light starts flickering and the way they enter is kind of weird. But after that, you know that you're done for. You can't open the door and run even though you should be able to. You can't, okay? You just have to stand there, wait for your eventual demise. And you know you're gonna get jump scared. Aside from the initial surprise of them walking in, nothing after that is exceptionally scary. I mean, it's cool to see them walk in. Honestly, I find it really cool, but after that, it's all just the same thing in a different way. It's gotten old at this point. I can feel the hate radiating from the comments section. It's like a fire burning beneath my feet. Or maybe it's just that my apartment's 30 degrees. Halfway through into number 5, Ennard. Ennard is a creepy animatronic, but one thing that is certainly creepy but not scary is the jump scare from the Ennard vent repair when you think that you've defeated him but he's actually still alive. Now, don't get me wrong, that is terrifying the first time, but after you know that it's coming, it then loses its effect. Even in blacklight mode, unless you've forgotten about it through the intensity that is the puzzles, which is understandable, but when you get to remember it, it doesn't get you nearly as much as the first time. And whereas jump scares when you're playing the main game can get you every time, since you never really know when they're coming, set jump scares like this in a story sense don't really have the same effect, which is unfortunate. It's just how humans work though. Most of the actual scary part of the thing we call being scared is the fear of the unknown. Every human has it. That's why if we see shadows that we don't know the origins of, we get nervous, or if something random is on the road in the middle of the night that we can't see, we get scared. It's just human nature. It's why we're looking for answers to the universe, but not searching our oceans for some reason. And at 4 mini-games, FNAF 2. The mini-games in FNAF 2 always end in a jump scare. The first time it can be scary if you don't know about them, but any time after that you know it's there. As soon as the purple guy starts pulling away, you know that the puppet will jump scare you. And as soon as you give life to the final animatronic, you know that Golden Freddy's gonna pop up and go boo. Okay, it's fairly routine at this point, and we know that it's coming. So it's not really a scare anymore. It's just a minor inconvenience that ends the minigame and throws us back into the hell that is trying to deal with FNAF 2. It's not that it's a bad game. There's just a lot going on and it's fairly complicated. Getting close to the end, and at number 3, killed his kids. You know what, sure, he may not have done it directly, but Afton's actions ended up resulting in all 3 of his kids' demises. Him killing Charlotte got Fredbear's clothes, which resulted in him having to open circus babies, which then made him have to dust off the baby animatronic and the other fun times, which were designed to kill in the first place. More on that in a second. Then, Baby ends up grabbing and crushing Elizabeth, resulting in her possessing Baby, even though Afton should have and probably could have easily put a blacklist on these animatronics, like, hey, don't kill these, they come from my loins. He superpowered the jaw of the Fredbear animatronic in case he had to use it as a backup kill suit, and then used it at the new Freddy Fazbear's, which ends up crushing his youngest son's skull, since it was not a spring lock failure, okay? All the spring locks weren't being used. It was in animatronic mode, not suit mode, so there was nothing to fail, meaning that crying child was killed by the power of the jaw. And while you could argue that that was Michael's fault, why would he think that a animatronic mouth would crush a skull? Okay, and as the suit technician, William knew what he was doing. And then he gets Michael killed when he sends him down to find his sister in sister location, which then ends up him realizing all the things that his father is doing, and then he ends up getting stuck into Ennard, and then he ends up getting stuck in FNAF 6 because he's trying to right his father's wrongs because he figured out what happened. Yeah, William's actions got all 3 of his kids killed, okay? Just because he didn't do it with his bare hands doesn't mean that it's not his fault. All because he just wanted to kill his business partner's daughter for whatever goddamn reason. And at 2, Ultimate Custom Night. Okay, I know Ultimate Custom Night is some people's favorite FNAF game, and some of the jump scares are good, like Fredbear for example. However, most of the jump scares like Nightmare Balloon Boy and such are just static images that shake around the screen. Sure, the noise is scary, but when it's accompanied by a shaking image, I don't really start to shake in my boots. A static image can be creepy, but even shaking, they won't really scare me, even if the image itself is scary. It's an opinion shared by a lot of people from what I can tell on subreddit threads discussing users' favorite and least favorite jump scares. Some people love Ultimate Custom Night and the scares, which is fine, and a couple of them are good. But with a game that has so many characters, it's easy to understand why it would be difficult to animate every single jump scare well. But still, not that scary. I say that, but I'm not playing it. Finally, in number 1, expected scares. I've been saying it throughout the whole list, but jump scares you expect aren't scary. For example, I was playing the Foxy Pirate Ride game when I went into the backroom helpy section where Chica was standing on the track and you need to hit a target to make her go back inside. However, I missed the target and watched as Chica was walking towards me before I got jump scared. Now, I hadn't been scared by Jacko Chica yet, so it was scary that time, but now if it ever happens again, it's not gonna scare me because, well, you literally watch her walk towards you. And the screen goes black for a split second before actually scaring you. If you expect it, it's not scary. Half of what makes us afraid is the unknown. It's what we don't know that scares us. Like, for example, if I don't know you and you come running up to me at night, I'm gonna run the hell away because someone is charging at me at night with a knife. Well, I don't know, but you probably have a knife. It's the unknown that scares us. It's why I hate the plush trap jump scare from the box, okay? Because you don't see it coming. Also, in that FNAF gameplay video, that actually jumps, like I did get the plush trap jump scare from the box, but my audio was so terrible because like everything had screwed up at that point that I couldn't use that clip. I wanted to include it in the video because of course it happened, right? But I couldn't because the audio was god awful. It sounded like there were 12 of me and they all had like variations of just how like the voice was messed up, okay? Yeah, I'm mad about it. And a 10 open door. FNAF VR doesn't feature a full FNAF 4 game. However, the Dark Room section does feature a couple levels in the FNAF 4 house. These levels have a special scene that plays when one of the animatronics gets into your room on the opposite side that you're on, where instead of instantly scaring you, they actually open the door and walk in. Now, don't get me wrong, the animatronics when they enter your room are horrific. They're towering over you and there is no way to stop them once they come in. But after the initial horror is over and you've watched them walk in, the jump scare isn't that bad, because at that point you expect it. You know what's gonna happen. It's certainly a shock when you first see them, but once your brain has processed it, you're okay. Even if it's Nightmare Fredbear, and that says a lot. Night Terrors. It's called Night Terrors. That's the one. Not Dark Rooms, Night Terrors. There we go. And a 9 Yendo. What's scarier? An animatronic with a scary visual design, or an endoskeleton that has nothing else going on? Most of you are probably going to say a full animatronic, unless you're intentionally saying what you think will contradict my point. But Yendo is simply a naked Funtime Freddy. Some think that it's golden Funtime Freddy, but let's be honest here. For the purposes of a jump scare, they're just naked Funtime Freddy. And the Funtime Freddy jump scare is scary because his face can open. The opening of one's face is not natural and is therefore creepy. But this guy isn't opening his face. He can't. It's basically already open. And it's not like it's flesh and blood. It's metal robotic parts. Plus, you can get this jump scare when you're expecting Funtime Foxy, so the confusion will have to overtake the fear. It definitely will. Quickly, in fact. Plus, I just don't find Yendo or Endo scary. I don't. They don't do anything. And it ain't Foxy. The FNAF VR Parts and Service minigame series takes you through repairing each of the original 4 animatronics. Bonnie, Chica, Freddy, Foxy, in that order to be exact. And when it comes to the jump scares, most of them are unexpected, since it just cuts to black and then boom! But with Foxy, they tried something different. Since he's the last one, they mixed it up. And if you fail, the screen fades to black and then comes back with Foxy missing from his spot. You wait for a few seconds and then Foxy runs at you. But they ruined this moment of confusion by having Foxy run at you. If you look any of the 4 directions, you'll see him running too. So it's not like if you turn around to look for him, you won't be able to see him. And like I've been saying, anything that you can expect loses its effect. It may get you the first time, but once you know the pattern, you're good. It's like Pixels. You remember that great movie? You just gotta know the patterns. That's why I'm not scared to do the Foxy Parts and Service, but to get there I have to do the scary stuff, and I don't want to do that. I'm man enough to admit when I'm scared. And at 7 Lights Out, FNAF 1. I said earlier that some of the worst jump scares are when you know that they're coming, because you can prepare yourself, especially when the screen gets dark beforehand. That's why Freddy from FNAF 1, when your power goes out, is on this list. Okay? When you hit 0% power, the only thing you can really do is just hope that you were close enough to 6 AM to get the win. This managed to happen to me on the first ever FNAF gameplay video we did on the channel, but it was in FNAF VR. I'll let you in on a little secret, okay? I had my eyes closed the whole time when the screen went black because I knew it was coming. Okay, however, as I just said, I knew the jump scare was coming, even if I am just a little bit. As soon as the screen goes black, the jump scare can pop up at any second. Sure, there's some variation and you may need to be waiting for a little bit, but you still know that it's coming and you can close the game before it happens. There isn't any fear associated with that. I know I was scared, so I closed my eyes, but that's just because of the anticipation. And I'm a little crybaby when it comes to VR horror. okay? It's not fun. Notice why I haven't played the game since then? Oh wait, actually at this point, we did have another FNAF video come out before this one, didn't we? Oh well, there goes that point. Either way, Freddy isn't scary when you know he's coming.
In its 6th special delivery. I've said it before and I'll say it again. The jump scares in special delivery aren't scary. The designs of the animatronics are, and if they were real, I'd be crapping myself on a regular basis, especially the final two in the top 10 scariest special delivery animatronics video. You should go check that out if you haven't already. But the actual jump scares themselves aren't scary. Why do I think that, you ask? Well, because they're on my phone screen. They're small and you're watching them come at you, at least for the most part. Like, the animatronics are normally scary because they have power over you. And on a phone, you don't really feel that same sense of powerlessness because, well, you can see that they aren't actually there. You can only see them on a small screen. And your focus can cut from that screen at any moment. You can say the same about the other games, sure, but when it's a monitor that you're actively looking around on, you tend not to get distracted because it's not like they're actually there. The same thing applies to the jump scares on mobile versions, but again, the whole point of FNAF AR is that they're in your house, but they aren't and you can clearly see that, thus losing the immersion and thus the scare factor. If FNAF AR gets a VR port though, it will definitely be a different story. That would be cool, but it would require Oculus and other VR headset companies to not have black and white only cameras on the headset, because like they just use those to track your movement. But if they had like color cameras that were actually decent quality, it would be expensive, but holy crap, would that be insane.
Halfway through into number 5, Resurrected Afton. The scariest thing that Vanny did, from any real standpoint, is resurrecting Afton. From an in-universe perspective, she brought back seemingly the Earth's most prolific killer. From a story perspective, it kind of comes out of nowhere and feels forced. And in a game sense, he just looks terrifying and sends all the broken animatronics after us. And lore-wise, because, well, Afton's back. However, he's also not entirely back, considering how this version is actually finally dead, seemingly, but only functional because the coded part of Afton's brain is in him. I don't No. This is why it's scary. We all figured that Afton was gonna come back this time around, okay? And understandably so, with the first trailer literally featuring an arm that every YouTuber, including us, milked for as long as they could. Whether he's actually alive again or not, this is the scariest thing that Vanny did in multiple ways. And now, it's canon in universe that people can turn into sentient code that can then be uploaded into animatronics and people, which is a whole other can of worms that I don't want to deal with.
And 4, Freddy. The only way I've lost in FNAF 1 is because I've run out of power. I like to play cautiously. It's like the opposite of what I like to live dangerously. Just caution. Caution! However, the characters never jump scare me without me running out of power, and that makes things incredibly predictable. So when I hear the March of the Toreador start playing, I know it's coming. It's not really scary when you run out of power because there's so much build-up. It's again, expected, and that ruins the scare. Just like how if you know when the jump scare in a movie is gonna happen, they don't scare you. It may startle you, but nothing more. It's the same thing here. In VR though, it's a different story.
In at 3, Corn Maze Foxy. Okay, I've said it before and I'll say it again. The scariest part of the corn maze is the damn crow clusters on the ground that will scare the hell out of you and alert Foxy as to where you are when you step on them in the corn maze minigame from FNAF VR's DLC, The Curse of Dreadbear. Honestly, I've seen a lot of YouTubers and streamers get used to the Foxy jump scare after a few times, like MatPat, who just started finding it as annoying as he was trying to get all the keys in the live streams. But now you may be saying, but Connor, you were scared when you were playing it in the last FNAF gameplay video. He ran through the fence, okay? He shouldn't have been able to do that. I should have had at least a couple seconds. But I hadn't played that game in months, okay? I stopped being used to the fear of existential dread. And however, by the end of it, I was fairly used to things again. So like, you know, the challenge got fairly easy. Well, I mean, not really, because like I kind of lost and gave up. But, you know, unless he cheats and just pretends not to notice you or again runs through the frickin' fence, okay? Stop using game bugs to your advantage, Foxy. It's a real move.
But ultimately, in at number 2, Red Freddy. There is one mysterious jump scare from FNAF VR that confused the masses when first found. And a lot of you might not know this. It depends on how plugged you are into the FNAF VR world. A version of what seemingly is Freddy, where you can only see a glowing red outline of his nose and teeth. Or eyes, I'm not sure. It's weird and we don't understand why it's there, but out of all the jump scares on this level, it might be the least scary. You can find this in the Pizza Party minigame of FNAF VR, the last level that you unlock after finishing all the other minigames, but it's still not scary. You can't really see anything but red outlines, and you're just left confused. And sometimes feeling a little dirty, but that's okay. We love you anyway, you crazy freak, you. Don't worry, I'm clinically insane as well, so we're in this together. Finally, in number 1, Foxy. There's a reason everybody thought that Foxy was a good guy, because his jump scare isn't really a jump scare, at least in FNAF 1. The scariest thing about it is the noise. Other than that, this guy just kind of leans into the doorway and then the game goes back to the menu. It's pretty lame if I'm honest, but at least it gave us some variety. But this scare is so not scary that people legit thought Foxy was a good guy. That's almost as bad as being so bad that Scott had to make another game to scare you, like Springtrap in the last list. That's why this is number 1, but it also is just kind of boring. This scare is vanilla, it's basic. It's the white girl with her pumpkin spice and Ugg boots in the fall taking pictures in a pile of leaves with hashtag blessed as the caption basic. Yeah, that's right, I'm calling you out. You are as basic as the Foxy jump scare, if that's you. You're welcome. Foxy's been on this list so many times. Why is Foxy just not scary? I don't get it.
In a 10 killed their brother. Joy. Right off the bat. Or at least they tried to. Since we play as Michael in every game of the original series with the exception of FNAF 4 and 7, Michael is always the one in danger. And since Baby is after us as the player in FNAF 5 and 6, she is legit trying to kill her brother. And she does so in such a menacing way. Being able to absolutely slaughter your brother without a moment's thought is probably one of the most messed up things that Baby could have done. But if we're being honest at this point, she was kinda nuts, so I think that it's better to put her up higher on the list. Like honestly, thinking about this, in the 5th game she wasn't really trying to kill him, just get inside of him, which sounds awful when you say it out loud, but in Pizzeria Simulator she definitely wanted to kill you, okay? And then during her final speech, she even thinks that it's what her father would want. So needless to say, she's pretty out of it at this point, but it makes it slightly more forgiving, but not by much. And at 9, No Choice. While he may have had issues killing Afton for whatever reason, Henry Emily just seems to be fine offing Afton's son when he gets the chance. I mean, in both fires set by Henry that we see, FNAF 3 and 6, Michael was there both times, and he didn't seem to care that Michael was in the building. He didn't even give Michael the opportunity to exit in FNAF 6, despite there having been a way out planned. Quote from Henry's final speech: "And to you, my brave volunteer, who somehow found this job listing not intended for you. Although there was a way out planned for you, I have a feeling that's not what you want. I have a feeling that you are right where you want to be." He has a feeling? Like, you assume that I also want to die in these halls and then don't give me the chance to actually make that decision for myself? He forces us to die since he doesn't give us a way out. But sorry man, but that's murder, okay? Whether we wanted it or not, assisted suicide is still illegal, at least for the majority of the states from my understanding, so either way this is a crime. But again, he doesn't give us the option, so it makes it more of a murder-suicide than an assisted self-offing. And it ain't nothing. Michael Afton's biggest sin in my mind is his ability to do nothing. Like, sure, he seems to be playing the good guy, going after his father, but really, Michael to me just seems like he's been playing hero this whole time and not really doing anything. Sure, he says he's trying to right his father's wrongs and whatnot, but looking at him, not doing it because he's a good person, he's doing it because he feels bad, and not because of some higher moral code. He blames himself for getting his brother killed, which I mean is accurate, which then subsequently means that anything he does, he's doing to try to make himself feel better about his mistakes. Because in the end, nothing will really bring his little brother back. Well, I mean, that's a whole other story. But I mean, he doesn't even really have the gall, the nuts, the balls, the cojones to actually stop his father once and for all. He says that he's going to come find him, but then when he does in FNAF 6, he doesn't burn the place down to stop him. Henry has to do it. Henry is the only one who's actually willing to eventually sack up and actually try to stop William, and that just shows how serious Michael actually is, okay? If he really wanted to make sure that William was stopped, he wouldn't have let himself burn in the FNAF 6 fire either, okay? He would have forced his way out. But he does, okay? He lets it happen. He sits in the room. Just so that he won't have to feel regret of his brother dying and like having the curse of knowledge since he knows what his father was doing. It's messed up.
And it's 7, Biddy Bats. The Biddy Bats from Sister Location are like Baby's little siblings. I can't say kids because, well, she's possessed by a kid so it feels weird, but they're basically mini versions of her, except without any red cheeks or hair. And you wanna know one thing that I don't find scary? Babies. Babies aren't scary. I mean, sure, they'll bite your face off like an adult in a bath salt-filled rage. They aren't actually that scary. Same goes for the animatronics. Sure, they may get you the first time, but every other time, they just seem kinda cute. I don't know, something about chubby babies that I'm not gonna have to buy anything for are just, they're so cute. But like, if I have to pay for them because they're mine, then suddenly they become less cute. I hardly have enough money for myself. And yes, I'm calling out all the parents right now who have babies, okay? Unless you pay me, in which case you're doing great, you're wonderful parents. Please don't fire me, William. Or Landon.
And at 6, Betrayal. Top 10 worst anime betrayals, but it's FNAF. In Sister Location, we thought that we finally had the first nice animatronic, like basically a prototype Glamrock Freddy. Baby was giving us tips on how to survive, she helped us through Balora's gallery, she really seemed like she wanted us to live. But then, what do we get for trusting her? Scooped and stuffed just like a Thanksgiving turkey. This was probably one of the most brutal things to happen to a character in the entire series, and it's all because we trusted Baby. It's because we trusted a woman. She made us feel safe, she gave us confidence, prevented us from getting killed only to use our body as a skin suit and then get kicked out of Enter Not Even a Game later, and she also took the goddamn kids. This is why I don't trust Glamrock Freddy. Baby is legit one of the reasons that I have trust issues now, and that's saying something. Like, holy damn, I could have sworn that Glamrock Freddy was going to do the exact same thing, like lead us down to Afton and then pull a psych. I've been working for this bag the whole time to die, but he didn't. However, thanks to Baby, I still think this man is doing a long con. Source this video, whichever side it pops up on.
Halfway through at number 5, Special Delivery. This one is fairly plain and simple. Special Delivery only jump scares you on your phone. Sure, it's still a jump scare, but it's on such a small screen that it doesn't really make a dent in my sanity, and you also have to watch them walk towards you the whole time. At least, I think. I haven't really played the game. Mostly because my apartment is a mess and I don't want to showcase that in a video, but you know, it's a long story. The animatronics are so tiny that it's fine. The concept of scale is really important when it comes to horror games. That's why a lot of bosses we fight are so huge. It's to make our character feel way outmatched. It's why your original height in FNAF VR makes you so tiny. Oh, I always adjust my height, otherwise I get kinda sick because, like, you know, scale and stuff. But when I set myself to a normal height, the fear goes away because, well, I'm roughly at the same height as the animatronics. Sure, they're still taller, but it's not like they could hide me in their stomach. They'd have to use at least all of their torso, okay? Then that's more comforting, which is weird, but also makes sense. How is this my job?
And at 4, Killing Vanny. In the Phaser Blast ending, you know, the one where you push the button instead of playing Princess Quest 3, Gregory ends up ordering robots to, quote, disassemble Vanny, because he heard Vanny say it, to disassemble Freddy. But Gregory, he knows that this is going to kill Vanny, okay? And him being willing to kill Vanny is extremely messed up, especially if this kid is meant to be 10 or 11, which everyone seems to believe, even though he's like the size of a 4-year-old. That's a whole other issue. But like, you could argue that he doesn't know any better, okay? But Gregory clearly does know better. This kid is easily able to destroy all 3 animatronics without a moment's hesitation and then use their upgrades on Freddy. He can drive a goddamn truck, and then he's just willing to kill Vanny, like I said, despite actually seemingly knowing her like we see in the best ending. And he burns Burn Trap multiple times in an attempt to stop him from taking control over Freddy. So like, what the absolute living hell is this kid doing, and how is he so nonchalant about this whole thing? This kid kills Vanny and then only gets emotional when he has to go talk to a destroyed Freddy robot. Like, dude, there is a literal human bleeding out right next to you. You can say, like, he was doing it in self-defense, but he's not, okay? Self-defense requires the proper use of force. This kid could have said, stop Vanny, restrain Vanny, I don't know, tackle Freddy, not freaking disassemble, okay? Like, I get that it's fresh in your mind, but dude, they literally were tearing the limbs off of Freddy in that scene. We see what happened to Freddy with his whole chest and stuff just being open. Like, imagine that, but soft, fleshy, easily broken, because, you know, it's not metal, human. Yeah, you're not panicking about literally anything else. Just say something that doesn't involve a human dying, okay? Especially if you know her. Gregory commits murder in one of the endings to this game. Does nobody find that a cause for concern?
And at 3, Mini Rena. Oh no, a little doll jumped onto my face. Whatever am I going to do? Take it off. That's it. The jump scare doesn't even end your game. It's just slightly inconveniences you. Honestly, it may even help you if you're playing the Sister Location VR fan recreation that Eddie VR has been playing on his channel. It got to a point where he actually holds onto the Mini Rena to help make himself feel better, especially when Baby is coming in for a jump scare. He's gotten so used to it that even when stressed, it doesn't really seem to affect him. That's desensitization right there. Plus, the mini arenas aren't scary, only if they want to climb inside you. Not a euphemism, that literally happens in a Fazbear Frights book. Maybe that's why they're on your face. They want you to swallow them. And like, I'm not here to kink shame, but that's kind of sus.
But ultimately, in number 2, neglect. I find it kind of funny how the worst things that characters have done in this series come from actual humans. And you know what? This might make a few Henry stans mad, but it has to be said. If you're suspicious of your business partner and concerned for your daughter's well-being, you don't just give her a special bracelet that makes her a priority to the one security robot that you have, especially when that bot can be easily disabled by just putting a couple of boxes on top of it. No, you keep her at home. You keep an eye on her as much as you can. You know, in this scenario, being a helicopter parent is okay because her life is actually in danger. And you should be doing that anyways because, you know, she's like 3 years old. You don't give her a bracelet then let her run amongst the big kids at the pizza place where she then gets locked outside of and killed. Dude. No. How did she even get locked outside? How is this possible? Like, how could that even happen? Neglect. This man put a green bracelet on his 3-year-old daughter and said, "That's enough," and then neglected her, hoping that a green band would be enough. Dude, what the actual hell? Especially when the man you think may hurt her is the one who built the goddamn animatronics in the first place and knows exactly how to disable it when the time comes. The worst thing Henry has done was straight up get his daughter killed. He suspected William and then didn't report it to the cops until his daughter died, okay? He could have at least gotten a conspiracy charge or had Afton under observation, could have gotten him looked at by the cops so that his daughter would at least be safe for the time being. And then he thinks that a bracelet is enough to keep her safe, thanks to an animatronic that William had designed. It was Afton Robotics after all. God damn, just move! And finally, in at number 1, they started everything. We can joke all we want about how Afton has a hardcore bloodlust in this series, but his desire for human destruction has been there since the start. Thanks to the fast facts found in FNAF AR's files, we learned that the Funtime robots, the one used in Sister Location, were actually some of the first robots that Afton made. Not necessarily the exact first, but among the first. And that's when they built the special containment chambers inside to store away items, which we all know is code for a child storage tank that we can actually see inside the Funtimes when you look at their blueprints. So this means that Afton has been wanting to kill kids since before his kids died. Hell, maybe even before they were born, depending on when this actually takes place in the timeline, which at this point is as simple as like my feelings for Vanessa, which is not simple at all. His desire to kill has caused me enough suffering in real life, let alone in the games. So yeah, definitely the worst thing a FNAF character has done, but I'm still gonna blame Scott. In a 10, springlock suits. While Henry may not have designed the springlock suits, he certainly let Afton create them and then allowed for their use in the restaurants, despite them being incredibly dangerous to employees, only putting them out of commission when someone got hurt, and not being proactive because they were literal death machines. You can make separate animatronics and have separate costumes, okay? That's the right move, that's the smart move, it's the safe move, because this so-called businessman thought, yeah, I'll put the safety of my employees at risk by making them wear a hot as balls suit filled with robotic parts that even with the slightest bit of water or moisture will cause those robotic parts to snap back into place. What can go wrong? We want to talk about Willy Wonka's OSHA violations, imagine FNAF's OSHA violations. Actually, you don't need to because we already made that list, okay? Go check it out. And at 9, crushed Elizabeth. Okay, I mean, don't get me wrong, some specific kids make me get William's whole MO, but the fact that he made these robots, especially the Funtime, specifically to kill, and then the first kid they get is his own daughter, that's some serious karma, man. But considering how horrific Baby becomes after this, thanks to Elizabeth, I feel like she may have had it coming. This girl was a lot more like her father than she should have been, in all honesty, especially when she was like, what, 3? While yes, crushing any kid would have been bad, but like your creator's daughter? Seriously. Like, why was there no blacklist for these kids? Like, hey, don't grab these. Like, you have the animatronics that can walk on their own, you have advanced AI, you have facial recognition technology, but you can't make a goddamn program that says do not kill these kids, they come from my loins. Bro, like, if you ask me, you had it coming. Like, who tells their kids not to do something and expects them to listen? Jeez. Especially when you built that robot to attract and lure kids, okay? Seriously. Honestly, this is more of a William screw up than a Baby screw up, but either way, this guy's a real dum-dum. And it ain't missing kids. With so many Fazbear locations having kids go missing, you'd think that they'd go out of business, but maybe every parent feels like they have something to prove or something, so they risk the lives of their kids so that when all is said and done, they can go home and flex on the other parents at the weekly book club meeting saying that their kids survived a trip to Freddy Fazbear's. I don't know. It sounds like a Karen move, but no matter what the reason is, at least 9 kids have gone missing once again in the newest Fazbear location, the Pizzaplex, resulting in multiple complaints, but as we see in the opening cutscene where Freddy glitches out, still a full house. We don't exactly know what happened to these kids, however we can assume that those kids were in fact made into corpses, perhaps to restore Afton to full strength, maybe they're just being kept in a cellar, but either way, it's pretty messed up. I don't know, maybe they need like a sacrifice a month in order to recharge all the animatronics. That's something I wouldn't put past Fazbear. Either way, at least 9 kids have gone missing thanks to Vanny, as we see in the worst ending. So yeah, Vanny's pretty messed up. And it's 7 lied about Remnant. Now, this also isn't confirmed, much like the fact that he possibly killed his wife. However, Afton lying about how Remnant works seems to be the most likely explanation to me. So if you want a full explanation as to why I think that Afton lied about Remnant, go check out that video, okay? Link is in the iCard, if I can remember. Can't guarantee that, but I'm gonna try, okay? But I'm gonna wrap up my ideas quickly here. Basically, there have been 3 fires so far that were all meant to finish William Afton for good, and none of them worked. The reason Henry tried fire is seemingly because that's supposed to be the thing that can burn off Remnant. However, Remnant can also be found in liquid form, so how can it be molten but also burn off via fire? You use fire to make things molten. It makes more sense to me, at least, that William ended up making up this lie and passing it off as Phineas Taggart or something similar, so that Henry thinks that he can be killed by fire, so if Henry did try to kill him, he would keep trying and failing to do so, since he didn't have to worry about actually dying. Since literally every time Afton has been caught in a fire, he has survived, okay? And you may think that it's the one you should not have killed, but the other animatronics infused with Remnant also survive, like Baby, the puppet, and Ennard in FNAF 6, as we see from the blob. So, yeah. And 6, Afton Amalgam. One of the biggest plot twists in the Fazbear Frights books epilogue stories is that they end up fighting a giant trash rabbit known as the Afton Amalgam. But then a mysterious black blob is revealed to be behind everything. This blob is then revealed to be controlled by Baby, or I guess by Elizabeth. Either way, at this point, it's the same goddamn thing. I'm guessing that this reveal was originally intended to happen after Security Breach was released, given the original release date of the game and the books, which would have made this so much more rewarding, but Baby was literally revealed to be controlling a version of her father, the man who got her killed by creating a robot designed to kill other kids. The man who killed her brother in that same way, who killed 5 additional kids, and who wanted to bring her brother back to life as an animatronic. She controlled a version of him, and then still wanted to make him proud. Halfway through into number 5, freed Afton. Like I said earlier, not only does this man lock Afton away in a secret room in an old pizzeria, he then ends up letting him be set free. Henry, the owner of the company, would most definitely have been the one to okay the sale for a FNAF 3 location, or even license out the IP so that they could make a recreation, okay? He would have had to, okay? However, he sells it anyway, knowing that Afton is trapped inside a location, okay? I don't know why this guy thought that it was a good idea, but here we are. William is then set free by these new people because they see that the original blueprints have a secret room, and then lo and behold, William is free again and thirsty for blood. Like, sure, Henry might have thought that William was dead, okay? But did he think that those guys would stumble upon a dead body in his secret room all sealed up and just ignore it? Or freak out and get rid of it themselves? Like, would they even know it was a dead body? Because, like, they might have just thought it was an animatronic, like they do in the game. So, like, what? What was Henry's plan here? It doesn't seem to make any sense. Was this man on some form of illicit substance that I can't name because it's YouTube when he came up with this whole idea? Like, I don't know, okay? It seems like a really stupid f***ing idea if you ask me. Like, who would think that this is going to work out? Especially after owning a business for that long and seeing how many times this fucker comes back. Well, I mean, at this point, he didn't know that he came back, but like, still. In a 4 security room. Now, look, okay, locking us in a security room while we're trespassing and then waiting for the cops is one thing. Doing that, saying you're calling the cops and then not calling the cops is something else. And on top of that, changing into your serial killer fursona and then coming after me while I try to escape with the very clear present on the ground is another thing. But some say we can't fault Vanessa on this because she ended up losing control to Afton and that's not her fault. But you know what, actually it is. I've talked about this before. Vanessa knows that Afton is controlling her. Well, maybe not exactly, but she knows that someone else is in her head and that they don't really have good intentions. She knows she's blacking out. I mean, how can not know that? We know that she knows all of this thanks to the CDs where she's talking to the therapist about how he could always be listening, and she just doesn't know where he could be. She knows about all of this, yet still locks us in a room where her psychotic double can then find and kill us. Bro, come on. Why would you think that that's a good idea? Just kick us out next time, especially if you're trying to resist William's influence. It's not like he's gonna make you off yourself, okay? He's gotten this far. He isn't gonna restart. Like, if he even has the ability to restart. He might not, okay? You're like his only lifeline. Getting close to the end, and in number 3, human masks. Now, it's unclear what Vanny does with these human masks, but through the FNAF AR emails, we learned that Vanessa, while in her Vanny Persona 5, ended up purchasing 3 realistic human masks. No idea why. It's, like, never brought up again, but honestly, you gotta admit that's pretty terrifying no matter what she ends up doing with them. Maybe they were for realistic humanoid robots, maybe, or maybe she wanted to prank people on Omegle where she pretends to be a dude or something. I don't know, okay, but the possibilities are fairly finite but also endless, if you know what I'm saying. Like, there are so many things that she could be doing with those masks that it's impossible to guess. I mean, educated guessing and MatPat both lean towards one of the masks being used on Gregory. But this then begs the question, if that is true, where did the other 2 go? Or like, were they used at all? Or like any of them? Vanessa and Gregory are the only 2 human characters in this game, so like, what's the deal here? Is she using one to like put on William again so that he has a normal face? I don't know, just buying them is scary enough, but like, did she use them? Or did she hang them on her wall or something? I think the fact that we didn't see them in Security Breach makes it worse than actually knowing what she did with them. But ultimately, in at number 2, didn't call the cops. Let's look at this logically, alright? Henry knew what was going on and that Afton was doing some shady shit. Otherwise, he wouldn't have put the green wristband on Charlie, right? Well, if he knew this man was up to something and was fearing for his daughter's safety because of it, why didn't you pick up the phone and call the goddamn cops? Okay, you'd be like, hey man, so you know, William Afton is the one that's killing all the kids you're looking for? Yeah, maybe he didn't have proof, okay? Certainly could have kept an eye on him at least, or gotten the police to actually, you know, check him out sooner rather than later, but he didn't. And instead, he did a whole load of other things that in reality did nothing to really hinder William. I mean, he did some stuff that put him out of commission for like 30 years by, you know, trapping him in a sealed room, but only 30 years. He let him get out. Dude, you go there and you make sure, hey, don't demolish this wall. We kinda need it for a reason. Can't really explain. Don't tear it down. This man could have stopped him, but instead he chose to just keep his mouth shut. And you know what they say, if you see something, say something. I mean, they say that on the Toronto Transit. I don't know if they say it anywhere else, but it's true. And finally, in at number 1, stored your daughter. We all know that Afton isn't the best dad, but it's something else to lock up your robot-possessed daughter into an animatronic testing facility, okay? That seems to be a bit too far, if you ask for my humble opinion. But nevertheless, he still did it. And that's what Sister Location is all about. And even in that game, we are shocking baby. We are shocking his daughter, okay? William was the one who sent us as Michael down there in the first place, and then we get shoved full of Ennard bits so that they can escape after we've shocked literally all the animatronics, including his daughter. Like, did William know about that plan? Because like in FNAF 6, Baby says that she's gonna make her dad proud, so like, was William's intention to send us down there so that Baby could get out? And if that was the case, why did he lock her down there in the first place, and why did he make us shock her? And if she was your daughter, okay, why not just have her chill around the house? Okay, like in the books, Baby is able to transform between like the baby animatronic and a human looking animatronic at will. So why not add this to the version of your daughter? Then you can have your daughter back, albeit a little more metal, and not in the cool way, but in the actually made of metal kind of way. I don't know, you're stupid. In at 10, possibly killed wife. Well, this hasn't been confirmed as of yet, so it's currently is non-canon, but many people consider William Afton offing his wife to be the story of her demise, even though technically we know nothing about her and she could still be alive. Many people consider her to have died either in a car crash or because William killed her. Those are the most common thoughts on the matter, although her dying in a car accident came from a FNAF music video that was made by the Living Tombstones, and I don't even think there's actually a car accident in the video. I looked at it and I don't think there was a car accident, but I've had many people yell at me in my DMs and in the comments telling me that it's canon that she dies in a car accident, but it's not. It's not even canon that she died, really, okay? I mean, it's FNAF, so the potential is there that William was the reason she kicked the animatronic part-filled bucket, but it's only a possibility. That's why it's at the top, okay? I get, if it ends up getting confirmed, I am more than willing to bump it up more on this list, but I mean, like, statistically speaking, your spouse is the person most likely to kill you, especially if they're a serial killer bent on bringing their son back from death, but I mean, hey. In at 9, arson. Alright, don't get me wrong, I love fire, and I've made jokes about arson multiple times on this channel, but because I love a little anarchy. But this man has some serious pyromaniac tendencies from the looks of things, alright? Henry Emily. He sets one place on fire in 2023 and then proceeds to light another building on fire not long after that. Bro, what's your deal? Like, why are you all so fire happy all of a sudden, okay? It doesn't even work. Literally every time we see a fire, it doesn't do one thing. It doesn't do the one thing we wanted it to do, which is kill Afton for good. He survived in FNAF 3, he survived in FNAF 6, he survived in the security breach fire only to get grabbed by the blob, so clearly fire isn't working. But Henry doesn't stop, even though it failed when Afton was literally locked in a room for 30 years. And yes, the FNAF security breach fires were thanks to Henry, since it was almost certainly the same system that he used to set the original FNAF 6 building on fire because it's the same building. So yeah, since this is the Freddy's simulated pizzeria from that game, those fires are the same fires, but also not. This man keeps setting fire after fire with no actual accomplishments because of it. Like, goddamn, take a hint, dude, it's not working. And it ain't sealed Afton. Speaking of putting William out of commission for 30 years, why did he do that? It seems like a dumb idea compared to some alternatives, okay? Maybe he tried other avenues before he actually ended up hiding those rooms away and sealing them. Maybe that was his last resort. But in reality, we can't be sure. We have really nothing to go off of, okay? This man sees Afton stuck spasming in the spring Bonnie suit and then straight up thinks, yeah, let's just hide this and let's put him out of his misery and try to end his killing spree once and for all. I mean, he might have tried it, and I mean, like, we know he's possessed, so he couldn't have done it, but like, did he try? We don't know. It seems like the biggest mistake made by any FNAF character is the choice to make William suffer. If we just like put him to the sword, maybe we'd all be able to go home safely. But no, okay, he locks Afton in a room where he hopes that he'll starve to death and suffer. Stupid idea, okay? He could have just ended it there, hopefully, maybe, possibly. We don't know if he was possessed at that point. I don't know he was possessed at that point. He could have tried to end it. We don't know if he tried or not, okay? But like, even if it did work, it's not like someone's gonna know it was you, or even that the animatronic actually contained a person, okay? Even like the death penalty nowadays doesn't have people suffer, okay? Like, don't be dumb for your own petty vengeance. Let them suffer in prison, where they're probably gonna get killed anyway, because they don't like people who attack children in prison, which is weird enough, but like, still. But hey, and if you're gonna lock him in a room for 30 years, don't set him free. There's a thought. And it's 7, encouraging Gregory. Assuming that Glamrock Freddy is possessed by Michael, or even just Glamrock Freddy in general, because, you know, the whole Michael thing hasn't been proven or disproven as of yet. Michael, as Glamrock Freddy, just straight up encourages Gregory to risk his life in order to get out of the pizza plex, when in all honesty, the safest thing to do would just be to keep him in either your stomach or your green room until 6 a.m., okay? Especially after the door closes and he was definitely stuck. There was no need for this daycare secret escape hatch thing. Okay, you could have just gone back the way you came and then everything would have been fine. You wouldn't have been suspicious since you would have like at least appeared to listen to Vanessa, then went back to your room, and then Gregory would have been safe, like especially after you knew that there was a crazy bunny running around trying to kill him. So yeah, if Glamrock Freddy is possessed by Michael, Michael did a horrible job protecting his surrogate younger brother, okay? And if not, then Glamrock Freddy just messed the hell up. And at 6, listened to his father. Now this takes a bit of assuming, okay? But less assuming than if Glamrock Freddy is possessed, so it's gonna be a little more realistic. We learn in Michael's final speech in Sister Location that he went to find his sister because his father asked him to, saying something along the lines of, "I did it, I put her back together, just like you asked me to," which is, yes, in reference to Baby. But the issue I have with this is, why did you listen to your dad? Okay? I don't think he learned about the horrible things his father did because of Baby. Okay? I think he must have learned of it beforehand. Maybe when he got Crying Child killed, because, you know, it was a freaking animatronic jaw that should not have been able to do that, and that's why he put his head in there to begin with, okay? And even if he didn't know what William was doing, honestly, that could make this point even worse. Like, what else has William asked his son to do? Either while he's been stuck in Fazbear's Fright, or before that, what has Michael done without question? I don't know, okay? It's a thought that really worries me, and maybe Michael has more to repent for than just hurting his brother, you know? Maybe he's accidentally found victims for William. It's possible. We don't know. Halfway through in at number 5, stayed open. Not only did Henry Emily allow for the spring lock suits to be used by staff, even if it was in their contract. It shouldn't have been in their contract, it shouldn't have needed to be in their contract. But this man kept the company going after losing how many kids? His daughter, Afton's 2 kids, 5 more in 1985, and then however many kept getting slaughtered every time they reopened. By reopening over and over, Henry gave Afton a location to kill. Even when he got Afton banned from the location and tried to use facial recognition tech to keep him out, Afton made the robots, so of course he's not gonna add himself to the facial recognition, you if it was even ever actually a thing to begin with. This man reopened how many times before finally biting it in FNAF 6? Seriously, before Springtrap was even a thing, they reopened like 3 times at least. Why did this man think that any of this was a good idea? In FNAF 6, he says he wants everyone to forget about the tragedies that were caused by these restaurants. Just do that by closing the restaurants in the first place, before Springtrap was created, so that we can all just live in peace. God. In at 4, Bad Babysitter. Now, while we don't really know the details about what's going on inside the Midnight Motorist minigame, I think it's fairly safe to say that this is supposed to be the Afton family, and particularly the Afton males. Seemingly, Michael was babysitting Crying Child while their father was, at work, but Michael was just watching some TV, and not his little brother, which allowed his little brother to break his window and go to a pizza place again, which I'm sure made his father so angry that when he got back home, he wasn't the nice father I'm sure he pretends to be on the outside, if you kinda know what I mean. So, Michael's neglect ended up getting his little brother in trouble, and then God knows what else, all because he wanted to watch his show, which is possibly Immortal and the Restless, which, you know what, makes it even worse because it's a freaking soap opera. Okay, and before any of you get mad at me and tell me that, like, the one who tells William to go easy on Crying Child is someone else, okay? It's Michael. It's most definitely Michael. It's not a wife, okay? Since this is after William started killing. Plus, it's the same gray shirt that he wears in FNAF 4 in front of the same TV we sit at in Sister Location. That's about as clear cut as this series gets. So, yeah. Getting close to the end in at number 3, Burning. FNAF 6 is a pretty good game. It was something new and probably the most interactive FNAF game ever, since we got to make our own pizzeria and then ended up becoming a part of the story. But the ending, while good and one of the most iconic speeches of all time, Michael letting himself go up in flames as well as the whole pizzeria is seriously dumb on his part too. I mentioned this last time and I blamed Henry for it, but also, like, bro, you've seen your father come back how many times? Just as many at least as anyone else. So, like, at least keep kicking for a year or 2 to actually make sure that he's dead instead of just hoping he is. You know this man is as relentless as Taco Bell after a night of binge drinking, so, like, why would you just think things are gonna be fine? I wish, like, one person in this series would actually think something through. And you know what? Henry encouraging him to stay and then also not giving him a way out just seems like a horrible idea to me. Straight up. Like, I get that you want nobody to remember this, but unless you go out and kill the parents of the victims and literally anyone who's ever covered the story or even read about it, people are always going to remember. Okay, so just stay alive, make sure the story is over, and then you can off yourself. Jeez. Both Michael and Henry are honestly at fault for this because Michael didn't even try to get out, but it's mostly Henry in my eyes, okay? Michael just gave up. But ultimately, in at number 2, grand larceny. Now, stealing a boatload of trinkets fine, assuming we gave that as a pass to Gregory, okay? Either way, he still commits grand larceny, which is typically seen as stealing anything with a combined value of $400 or more, or something that would cost over $400 to replace in a reasonable amount of time. If we ignore the 87 collectible prize boxes found throughout Security Breach, which would easily equal to over $400, he still steals Freddy at the end of the game. In multiple endings, Freddy and Gregory leave the Pizzaplex without a care in the world, including the canon ending. And before you say, Connor, I'm calling BS, Freddy chose to leave with Gregory in those endings. Freddy is an animatronic robot, okay? He has no free will. He is not sentient. He physically, in the eyes of the law, cannot make that choice. He is property of Fazbear Entertainment. He is not a living being, okay? He has no rights. He is a robot. He's an object in the most literal sense of the word, which makes me think that we need to just stop playing these games. I mean, I don't even want to deal with this. So, Gregory, in theory, should be getting charged with a whole lot more than just grand larceny, in my mind, based on multiple other videos. I mean, like a couple parts ago, I'm pretty sure I explained to you that he just straight up murders Vanny. But yeah, tell me that you don't think replacing Freddy in a reasonable amount of time would cost less than $400. Okay, if you're trying to tell me that right now, I need you to leave this video, okay? He would be the most expensive thing to replace. He literally is, the AI complexity alone would cost $400. God. And finally, in at number 1, the missing children's incident. I mean, this is fairly low-hanging fruit since it's like the inciting moment for the whole series, but I think it's worth calling out at least. The missing children's incident, in case you've forgotten, is the infamous incident where 5 kids go missing inside of Freddy Fazbear's Pizza and are never seen again. Police investigated but were unable to find any bodies, thus they had to let their suspect, in this case I'm guessing William Afton, go due to a lack of evidence. However, this is one of the most historically painful moments that you can think of, okay, especially if you're a parent. 5 families went into Freddy Fazbear's wanting their kids to have a good time, like in 1985, and then left without their favorite people. They had the time of their lives, and it also just so happened to be the end of their lives. Not only that, but Afton also ends up getting away with it since the police were terrible at their jobs or getting paid off. Still not sure which one in this case, okay? But the missing children's incident is one of the most messed up things to ever happen in this series, but without it, we wouldn't have the series. So, at least it's all fake on this earth, at least.